I'm Allendale's chief meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at the midday weather update. Surface analysis across the United States shows a stationary front basically running from just south of New York City through Pennsylvania, northern Ohio, northern Indiana, northern Illinois, all the way back to low pressure right in the middle of north central Nebraska. Goes southwest of there. You've got another low in southwest Nebraska, warm front extending across Kansas, and then a little stationary trough. I'm going to actually call this probably the dry line that runs out of that low across western Kansas. Now, we have seen some radar echoes trying to pop up in that dry line area in western parts of Kansas. However, when you get right down to it, we haven't seen an excessive amount of precipitation come out of that. So if folks are looking at that and saying, look, we've got rains, crop-saving rains coming to a large part of the wheat belt, I will back the truck up and say, hold on. Be careful there before you say that we actually have them coming or that they've actually happened. The radar here has been very, very interesting in how it's been throwing things out. The only good precipitation that I've seen talked about across a large part of Kansas is a little drizzle over toward Kansas City. Every place else we're seeing mostly just clouds out there, and you have to go farther north into the Dakotas before you find good rain. So it's not like we've got the best scenario out there right now, whether or not we're going to be able to get rain going. However, that dry line is going to be something that we need to watch at midweek. We expect low pressure to move out of the plains, and I think that dry line is going to fire off with a large batch of severe weather. I actually think, and I put this in the online write-up this morning, I think the setup for midweek this week in hard red winter wheat country looks very similar to what we saw last week, and that was a lot of wind, a lot of hail, a lot of damage, a lot of severe weather, and not much actual moisture associated with it. So I think that we just need to be careful not to get the cart before the horse here. We've got another strong low that comes out of that part of the country as we go through early next week. And same thing there. I just don't think we need to be getting too excited about it yet. If rains happen, great. The other side of the equation, temperatures last Friday night into Saturday were very, very cold across a large part of the hard red winter wheat belt. Let me run through some of these temperatures in Kansas. These are overnight lows. Goodland 27, Dodge City was only 31, but Garden City 29, Medicine Lodge, Kansas, down south central 24. We saw Emporia 26, Lawrence 24, Manhattan, Kansas 26, Topeka, Kansas 28, Chanute 27, Wichita 25, Salina 26. That tells you we saw some fairly significant cold air push in. Wheat is jointing in parts of hard red winter wheat country, and you know some of those cold temperatures. You know, Medicine Lodge is only 15, 18 miles from the Oklahoma border, so you know you saw some of that move across into north central Oklahoma as well. That might actually be a big scenario as well. Some are saying, well, look, it's so dry that wheat was barely growing anyway. It's not like you can kill dead wheat. All right, valid point, but we will see. Talking about the situation as we go forward, again, we're watching as the frontal boundary tries to put down some decent moisture in eastern parts of the plains at midweek. To me, though, the low looks like it sits near or just northwest of Kansas City, which will put the best rain over Nebraska and South Dakota. You almost have to hope for some strong to severe weather in Kansas to get some moisture going there. And then we'll see some wraparound moisture maybe get back into northeast Colorado before it dissipates. The other low comes together late in the weekend, ejects out. This low is a little bit farther south and west, but may not be able to tap into the abundance of eastern, or rather western Gulf moisture before it ejects out. We'll see. Either way, both systems lead to good moisture across the Corn Belt between now and, let's say, next Tuesday afternoon. I think we could be looking at 1 to 2.5 inches of rain easily, 80% of the Corn Belt, and that 20% that's not in there, upper Midwest, I think they still get some rain. You just have trouble getting close to that 1 inch total up in parts of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, for example. So moisture coming. However, just about the time we start to hear some complaints, you know, I think we start to dry down. A nice high. Granted, it's a cooler Canadian high, but a nice high settles in from the 14th into the 15th, so late Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. And then we actually see the pattern going dry all the way through the 21st, 22nd. So just about the time folks are going to start to complain about the moisture and can be concerned about planting, I think we flip this thing the other way and go dry. We'll have to see if that leads to any wholesale dry down. Evaporation rates look like they could be pretty good. And I'm actually looking at some fairly decent winds coming in with that drier push as well. So we'll have to watch that. International weather continues to show decent rain over most of Australia's wheat belt as we gear up planting-wise. China does not look quite as wet. Good moisture moving east in Russia, hitting some of those driest areas there. So honestly, there are not a lot of weather headlines outside the friendly confines of our home borders. So planting really is the key story here, and it's going to be soggy for a little bit ahead of it. If you've got any questions on the weather, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.